I've got this 280ZX here. It's a 1981 model. Original owner. It's been in indoor storage for a very long time, since 1991. It only has 80,000 miles, and I'm diagnosing a few problems with it. To give you a little bit of backstory, the car was taken on by a transmission shop, I think, just to get it running. And from what I was told, they had the fuel tank cleaned and relined, put a new fuel pump in it, and a couple coolant hoses, and that's it. Whenever I got the car is hard to start from being cold, and it also would idle about 1,500 to 2,000 RPMs. So I found that the timing was, the shop had messed with the timing. It was way off, and I've set it back to 8 degrees with the vacuum advance plugged. So now the car, once warm, pulls perfectly on the highway. Feels like it has tons of power. The issue I'm working with right now is cold start, or even start from not driving the car for a little bit. So I've got a fuel pressure gauge hooked up. I have already checked the fuel pressure before, and it seemed like it was good, but we're going to do it with the car cold. So the problem that I'm having right now is hard start still, and then the car really doesn't idle very well and wants to die or backfire under throttle. So we'll start the car up and then give it some throttle, and the car wants to die. If you really keep throttling it, it'll backfire. So I have the air fuel meter cover off, just checking everything in there, and it looks like it checks out. I'm gonna go ahead and leave the cover off for right now. I did clean the cold start switch or cold start valve. Looks like the shop had messed with it before because the connector is missing the spring. Also, it looks like they replaced the air regulator here. Or maybe it just looks super clean, but all the screws were loose to it. The screws were loose to this as well. So anyway, I'm just trying to chase everything. I think they did an EGR valve as well. So yeah, let's get this thing fired up and see how it runs. So I'm not going to give it pedal or anything. I'm just going to crank it. Alright, so at idle we've got about 35 psi of fuel pressure. You can see the car wants to die when I give it throttle. So that was probably quarter throttle. Our fuel pressure went up to 40 and the car just kind of sputtered. So you can hear the same thing. It's just kind of fighting through it and getting some backfiring. It seems like you can kind of fight through it, and once you get in the upper RPM range above 2,000, it really wants to take off and kind of smooths out. So idling fuel pressure is 35 psi. The fuel pressure regulator works. You can see the pressure goes up. Goes up to about 42 with the car running. So fuel pressure regulator is good. You can hear a difference in the idle when you richen it or lean it out with the air fuel meter. So we've got a raise in idle. And we richen it. So it doesn't really make any difference even if you richen it with the air fuel meter. You still get that backfire. So yeah, if you guys have any comments or maybe ideas on things that I should start checking, I would love to hear it. Once the car runs for a minute, it runs fantastic, super snappy. There is one last thing that I forgot to mention. When I got the car, one of the main reasons for the very high idle was the BCDD, I think is what it's called, which is this valve down here. I capped off the vacuum line to it. So I went with pliers, and I tested every single vacuum line, and when I pinched this one, the car wanted to idle normally. So I think the diaphragm is probably bad inside there. I don't think that could be causing us an issue, but maybe I should take it apart and block it off. Anyway, hopefully we can get this figured out. We'll talk to you soon.